Boston, Montreal, Minnesota, Ottawa, Toronto, and the concrete jungle that is New York. You might be thinking to yourself, okay, that's a list of random places, but for all you hockey lovers out there, you already know exactly where this is going. Hi everyone and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm your host Chris Machado and I'm here alongside Hannah Valcourt and Josh Bartosik to discuss all things women's hockey. That's right, the PWHL is alive and well with 6 teams battling it out and breaking women's hockey records with the largest crowd to be in attendance for a professional women's hockey game at 13,316 people. So you two, there's no doubt already that even just a young new league like the PWHL, only 4 or 5 games in now, depending on each team, they're making wonderful strides. So just let's start it off with something easy. Just tell me something positive that you see about this league and what you're excited about.
Yeah, so I would have to say that I went to the Boston game the opening night, and it was great to see. There was probably about a dozen different U12, U10 teams that were there supporting. And I think that was so great for the league that they're having a younger audience, but also there was so many college-age kids there as well, as along with some of the BU women hockey players. It was so great to see all the different ages coming together to support them that opening night.
Yeah, I mean, kind of building off of your point a little bit, and you mentioned in the opening, the attendance in these games. I mean, Minnesota, like you mentioned, 13,316. Mm-hmm. That's more people than sometimes the Minnesota Wild get, and which is pretty crazy to see because that is, the state of hockey. Minnesota is what they call it sometimes. And then just a few nights prior, they had broken the record again. Ottawa had over 8,000, which was then the record. 5 days later, they break it with Minnesota. So kind of a pretty good sign with your league if in the span of a week you break the record twice. And you like to see that. It's a good sign. Not sure if they can keep it up at that high of a rate, but if you're just starting a league and you get that much attention and attendance that quickly, can't really complain that much.
Yeah, and it's awesome. And just so we all know that, the NHL has their struggles with marketing, but if the PWHL, and the NHL, they can both grow the game together if they stick like this. But now just mentioning the NHL, we all know about the McDavids, the Crosbys, the Matthews. You get the idea. But for the PWHL, there's obviously already been some standouts players that have been in the draft and who have already lit the lamp, who have the silkiest mitts. So, Josh, I'll start with you on this one. For the people back home watching, who should they be keeping an eye on?
Well, I'm going to go with the number 1 overall draft pick in the PWHL draft, Taylor Heisey out of Minnesota, staying in her home state for Minnesota. She was almost averaging 2 points per game her senior season for the Golden Gophers, which is a great men's and women's hockey program. And now going to Minnesota, she scored some dazzling goals, scored the first goal in their PWHL history for that Minnesota team, and now top 5 in both goals and points so far. And something you kind of mentioned, the marketing. PWHL has done a lot of marketing on their number 1 overall pick, and they should, because she's electric to watch. She's got a great personality, and we'll mention a little bit later about the personalities, but the PWHL is doing a much better job than the NHL in terms of marketing those personalities, and she's one of the most interesting and entertaining ones to watch. She's been dazzling the fans, dazzling the league, and really lighting up the scoreboard so far.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you, Josh, but someone that's standing out to me that I feel like not necessarily after the draft was going to be a standout player we expected, but is Ella Shelton, and she was the first one to score a goal in the new league. She leads the league in points and in assists, I believe, and she's number 5 in the league for goals. So she has been a standout player, and she's a defenseman, which is amazing, and I can't wait to see what she does, especially in the All-Star game with the 3-on-3.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to look forward to, especially with a brand new league. And, and Team New York, they get the first win over Team Toronto. And I just can't wait to see this league grow when these 6 teams, aren't called New York in the states and the towns, when they actually have team names and this league is growing. And so, Hannah, I'll send this one over to you with where this league is going, right? A lot of good marketing already, but it's growing the women's side of hockey, and that's very, very important. And especially, for young girls now, they finally have a new league, a televised league, to watch their role models and the superstars that they want to be when they grow up. And, it's just going to be phenomenal to see the growth of this sport on the women's side. So can you just speak about that?
Yeah, I really feel like they need to do a good job of intertwining with the NHL. I feel like the more NHL presence we can get from past players, current players, teams, really connecting with this new league that will get players that aren't people that aren't necessarily female hockey fans, like if you were a young girl playing or if you played college hockey. It's a new set of like the older generation, I guess, to get into this women's league.
Yeah, I mean, look, we kind of have been hinting at a lot, but marketing is going to be big because the NHL is the worst out of the top 4 leagues in terms of marketing for everything. I mean, if you go back for the Winter Classic, people barely even knew that was even happening this year, right before up until game time. So if the PWHL and the NHL can collaborate, like you said, and work on marketing, that would be a huge thing. Just, again, using those player personalities, using what they're known for. They're people too. They're not just players. Getting maybe some mic'd up moments. You see it a lot of the time for MLB. They do it. I mean, MLB is not that great at marketing either, but in terms of marketing player personalities and having
they have
fan
been
favorites.
doing that too.
Exactly.
Some of the Boston players, they did it with at practice. They were mic'd up, and I think they're doing a really good job, especially using all the platforms that we have too, like TikTok and Instagram. They're really growing their social media presence, and I feel like that's how most people are finding out and getting comfortable with the league.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a great start, obviously, and having them mic'd up and having them mic'd up and doing all this stuff is great. You want to see them build more, obviously, when they get more support and funding, hopefully from the NHL and other people around the hockey world. You can see, better team names, better jerseys. I think the color schemes are good, but the jerseys were bad, the team names are bad. It's because it's a league starting up brand new. But again, when this is bare bones stuff and they're already getting this much support and this much traction, it can only go up from here. And I think with the right marketing and the right tools and the right people, this league could easily become the women's counterpart to the NHL.
Yeah, you talk about the right people, and just to talk about Team New York in my experience a little bit as the New Yorker in the room, Team New York used to be the Metropolitan Riveteers in the previous league, and they played at the American Dream Mall. And for anybody who doesn't know, the American Dream Mall is essentially it has a ice rink in it, and it's just a mall right next to MetLife Stadium. So they weren't really getting anybody at those games, but now with Team New York switching their home arenas between Bridgeport, Connecticut, and UBS on Long Island, once these teams get a set home, it's going to be amazing to see. Well, you heard it all here. We cannot be more excited for the PWHL and the strides that it will make for the game of hockey and for the opportunities the league will bring for girls who want to become professional hockey players all over the world. Let us know down in the comments which PWHL team you root for and maybe even who your favorite player is. For Hannah Valcourt, Josh Bartosik, and our entire in-studio crew, I've been Chris Machado, and we'll see you next time on Penn State Sports Night.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night.
For more content like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like, and follow our socials down below.
And as always, we are
Penn State Sports Night.